Today we are diving deep into the Pre-Algebra course from the Good and the Beautiful Math 8. They just came out with their new Math 8 course and I am so curious about so many things. Is it rigorous enough? Is it too gentle? What is Math 8 all about? I know there's a lot of questions surrounding Math 8. Once you finish Math 6, do you jump into Math 7? Is it more of a review of Math 6? Or do you jump into Math 8? How do you make that decision? There are so many questions. And in today's video, let's dive deep into math. But we are focusing mostly on the upper levels so we can understand where to place your child. And we're going to discuss the tools that the Good and the Beautiful have that you can use. So if you are interested in everything Math 8, just keep on watching. I do want to thank the Good and the Beautiful for partnering up with me on today's video. They sent me their new Math 8s, but they also sent me a couple of other things. We are going to unbox this first, and then we're going to talk all about Math 8. And also my son, he's going to be going into Math 6. So I'm going to discuss my plans on what I have for my son, whether he's going to be going into Math 7, whether he's going to jump into Math 8. And we're going to talk about what other moms are saying online too, on what they've done, so we can get a better perspective of where to place your child, but also for us to understand a little bit better on how this math curriculum works. And I'm also going to be giving you a little bit of a first impressions as well, and we can take a look at it together. Okay, so let's open up these boxes. I have two boxes here that I'm going to open up from the Good and the Beautiful, and this is curriculum for next year, but also some of their new curriculum that they've just come up with. And I'm just going to show you a first impressions of it. So let me just open it here. Okay, so I have Math 6 here from the Good and the Beautiful. As you know, my son is doing Math 5 right now, and Math 6 actually comes with 2 books. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I'm going to look through it in a little bit. But looks pretty familiar to me and how the Good and the Beautiful actually looks like. I'm not going to do too much of a thorough flip through of this right now, just because I'm going to have videos on it in the future. I want to focus on the newer curriculum that they have out right now, which is Pre-Algebra. I have Math 7 here, which they have come out with. Yeah, I think they came out with it a little while ago. But I wanted to take a look at Math 7 compared to, Math 8, because if you are doing the Good and the Beautiful, you might not have to, do Math 7. Good and the Beautiful online, they have like a recommendations of like where you should place your child. I'm going to link it down below because I think it's very, very helpful. You have 4 different course books here, and then you have the Math 7 answers and solutions. So that's Math 7, and then you have Math 8 over here, which is the Pre-Algebra, and it comes with, again, 4 different workbooks: Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and Unit 4, and then you have an answers and solutions. Now, some of the things that you should notice about the upper levels, starting from level 4, there is video lessons. So if you go online on their app, and you can download their app on your phone, they have all the lessons online as a video lesson. So the video lessons can be done independently.
One of the foods that I grew up eating is a Hungarian classic called goulash. This paprika-seasoned stew is the perfect meal to end the long day of a Hungarian herdsman, which is where the meal gets its name. Today's lesson is all about operations with fractions and decimals, which has plenty of tasty applications. Fractions and decimals represent parts of a whole and are often encountered in real-world situations. Decimals and fractions are used in construction, baking, and even music, as well as any monetary exchange. When adding or subtracting fractions, a common denominator is used. For example,
they actually have a lesson overview, so you could actually do it one-on-one with the child if you want to, or the child can read it themselves. There's just so many different ways that you can use this curriculum and make it work for you. Simply Good and Beautiful Math Pre-Algebra. It's usually for kids starting at the 8th grade level, and it covers all the foundational concepts that they need to know before they start high school algebra. It's a open and go curriculum, which means there's no need for like heavy prep or anything like that. Lessons include engaging explanations, so they have a video lesson. There's actually the lesson that you can do with your child one-on-one if you want to. The child can read the lesson. So there's so many different ways to do the lessons. So I really like that. They do recommend that you do the video lessons because there's just much more in the video lessons, but that is up to you. The Good and the Beautiful starts with video lessons as of level 4. We really enjoy them. They just give a lot of real life application of why do you use these math concepts in real life, and I feel like that's really a game changer for me. As of Math 7, the layout kind of changes, but you still have your video lesson, you still have your actual lesson that you can read, and it's nice because whenever you do the video lesson, which I will put here the approximately amount of the video lesson, I'm thinking around 10 to 15 minutes is kind of like the sweet spot of how long the video lessons are. It's nice because if you have a lesson that you can read as well, you can always go back to that lesson if you kind of need a little bit of a review, and you don't have to watch the video all over again, if you know what I'm saying. And you're going to notice with the actual lessons, you're going to have the actual lesson itself, you're going to have the lesson practice, and then you're going to have review. The wonderful thing that I thought was so cool about the Good and the Beautiful is that for level 7 and 8, you actually can purchase like extra practice if you need that. So there's just so many things that they thought about when it came to Math 7 and up, so your child can get extra practice, and I really like that. So the answer key is quite thorough. So for example, if your child is doing like a division problem, it'll go step by step of how they got that answer. So really great touch because during these levels, things just get a little bit harder. So the Good and the Beautiful math as of level 4, it becomes quite independent for the child, and I really enjoy that. That doesn't mean it has to be that way. I mean, you could tweak it if you do want to sit down with your child and teach them. I mean, you could do the video lessons with them, you can do the lesson one-on-one with them, you can do that. But I feel like at this age, Math 7, Math 8, like you want to foster this independence. You as the teacher, you should be, you know, looking over their work to make sure that they're getting it, to make sure that, you know, do they need extra practice so I can get the practice sheets, you know? So it's up to you as the actual parent teacher to make sure that they're, you know, staying on track and they're understanding it. I would review it every single day. The Good and the Beautiful still has that spiral approach. I think that as the parent and teacher, you should be checking it every single day to make sure that your child is understanding these math concepts, because it's so crucial right now because it's getting, you know, it's getting harder, it's getting more difficult. So as the teacher, for me, how I use it as my son is doing Math 5 right now is that I check his work every single day to make sure that he's understanding it, and he is pretty independent already at this age. That the Good and the Beautiful fosters this independence, but it allows you to tweak it. If your child is not ready for that, don't worry, especially if you're pulling your child out of public school. I noticed that kids that are in public school sometimes depend a little bit more on the parent teacher just because of what they're used to, and maybe you're not used to this curriculum because you're using another curriculum. You still can do things one-on-one with your child. I'll give you an example. My son once, it was a concept that was a little bit harder for him, so it was just something, a little thing that he missed on the video lesson that, you know, just kind of skipped his mind, and he didn't understand the concept very well. So I was like, you know what, let's watch the video together. And we watched the video together, and I saw where he didn't understand, and we're like, okay, perfect. Now we understand why you didn't understand this concept. But for me as the parent, I always tell my son that I am here for you. If you don't understand something right away, you could talk to me right away. I'm here for you. School comes first, not dishes, laundry, and all the other things that I have to do as a working homeschool mom. So I make sure that if he has an issue, we tackle it right away so he's not frustrated. And I love the Good and the Beautiful that we can do that. Like, we can sit down and do the lesson together. Every child is going to have a concept that is a little bit more difficult for them, so they're going to need you as a teacher. So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not ready to give that independence to my child, or my child is not ready for that. That's totally fine. Remember, a homeschool curriculum is your guide. Now, I love the recommendations from the Good and the Beautiful, so I do allow my child to be more independent, and he loves it. He absolutely loves being independent, and it's really nice to see that. Okay, Gina, who is this curriculum good for? If your child enjoys a mix of visual learning, real life applications, and a structured but gentle approach, I think they're really gonna enjoy the Good and the Beautiful math. If they need repetition and a ton of review, the great thing about the Good and the Beautiful, as of Math 7, you have the extra practice sheets. So you can get that as well, and I feel that's a really wonderful added touch. The great thing about the Good and the Beautiful is that you can get and download the Math K all the way to Math 8 for free as a PDF. So you can actually take a look at it and see if it's a good fit for your child. There's no guessing here. Like with other curriculums, if I'm gonna go buy another curriculum, they're not going to give me their whole curriculum for me to try out. You know what I'm saying? You can try it out. And I know that maybe you're like, Gina, I don't want to print the whole curriculum. That's totally fine. Maybe you want to print out about 10 lessons, maybe 5 lessons, maybe a whole unit, just so you can kind of get a feel for it and your child can get a feel for it. So there's just so many ways that you can know if this is a good curriculum for you. And I would recommend that you do that if you're on the fence. If you're not on the fence and you've been using the Good and the Beautiful for all these years and you really like it, I think that you're going to just love, going into a Math 7 and Math 8. It's your first time using the Good and the Beautiful. You have everything that you need to make a sound decision. And that's what I love about the Good and the Beautiful, is that they offer their curriculum for free. You can try it out for free. And then there's no reason for you to be like, oh man, this didn't work. You can try it out for free. And I recommend that you do that if you're on the fence about it. So if you didn't know, I'm just gonna kind of sum it up in my own words that whoever's completing Math 6, your child might be ready for pre-algebra, depending on how advanced they are in math. So a lot of people have been asking, like, does my child go into Math 7? Do they go into Math 8? Should I just skip it? So today I'm going to talk about that, how you can find out if Math 7 is the right fit or Math 8. So this is a really great question here. So I'm going to just read it. It says here, now that Math 8 is available, those of you who are currently working through Math 6, will you start Math 7 next? Or will you skip it and go straight to Math 8 pre-algebra? I'm currently trying to decide which route to take and would love to hear what others are doing and why. Or maybe if you're doing Math 7 now, did you find it repetitive after Math 6? Wish you waited until Math 8 was released? And then she was just asking other moms, what do they think about that? So if you didn't know, Math 7, people are saying that it's more of reinforcing concepts than Math 6, so you can be ready for pre-algebra. I was wondering what the pilot families thought about it, going from Math 6 to 7. I think their insight might be helpful. And then one mom, she responded, she's like, we were part of the pilot family and we did Math 6, 7, and 8. So that's really interesting. And she said, we did not find it repetitive at all. My daughter is cruising through Algebra 1 in 9th grade with no problems whatsoever, and I don't have any regrets. I love hearing that. It's nice hearing from a pilot family that has done it. From my understanding is that the Good and the Beautiful has a high school math tracks online where it could help you determine where your child is going to be at so you could prepare for high school. So I'm gonna link that down below because I feel like that's going to be very helpful. Good and the Beautiful has level assessments online, so you can determine if your child maybe would go to Math 8 or go into Math 7. So they have an assessment online that maybe your child can take. I know that usually you do these level assessments in the beginning of you starting your journey with the Good and the Beautiful, and then you never actually do that because you go by level, and they have unit assessments within their actual curriculum and units. But in this case, I've heard from a lot of parents saying that they've done that, and I feel like I'm probably going to do that too. I'm going to assess the situation. I've heard from parents that if your child is really going to pursue a career in math, like for my son, he's really into engineering, building, and that kind of stuff, do Math 7 to reinforce those concepts. So then you can go into Math 8 pre-algebra and then go into high school math. I've had questions regarding, okay, is the Good and the Beautiful going to come up with high school math? They actually talk about that in their blog post. Some people were asking, what are your current plans for high school math? Right now, they don't have a date set for any high school math right now because it takes time to make good curriculum, to produce good curriculum. And they've been focusing on K to level 8 right now to make sure that it's solid. In reading the Good and the Beautiful blog, I thought it was so interesting that they mentioned that less than 3% of their customers have high school students. But they have been working behind the scenes on high school courses. I don't see any here talking about math yet. So I don't have any information on that yet. It'd be wonderful that they came out with, more math courses, but for now, that's what they have available. What I'm gonna do with my son, once he finishes Math 6, I'm going to see how it goes. We're gonna talk about different career paths, and then we'll go from there. Follow what I feel like is best for my kids, and when the time comes, I will decide. I do think that we were gonna go into Math 7 to reinforce those concepts, just because he does want to pursue a career that's probably more math heavy, and then we would go into math 8 and go from there, you know. I'm going to read a couple of more comments of, you know, people that have been using math 7. Someone said math 7 has been repetitive for my daughter in a good way. Math 6 had a lot of new concepts, so I feel like math 7 has been a great way to solidify skills I wouldn't skip. So that's her 2 cents on it. This mom she's probably in the same boat as me, where her son has used math from the Good and the Beautiful since level 1, and he's currently in math 7 right now. And she says that math 7 has not been repetitive for him, and after doing math 6. She says she's been using the Good and the Beautiful for the past 7 years. It's also been very affordable. So that's kind of her 2 cents on it. Someone said I wouldn't skip it. We did the assessment to see if we could move into pre-algebra, and one of my daughters passed barely and the other didn't. So we're going through math 7, but skipping any lessons they feel confident they already know. So yeah, definitely you can do that, and you can see like, oh, if my child already knows this concept really, really well, they've mastered it, I mean, you could skip and go from there. There are new concepts and more in depth of old concepts, so I definitely wouldn't skip it completely. So she's talking about math 7. You can have your child take the math placement test to decide though if you feel like she was just breezing through level 6. So that's really good advice. Some people said take a look at the high school math tracks, which is a good way as well, and I'm gonna have a link down below for that. There's one mom that said that, you know, my child was doing level 6 and they just did the math assessment and she aced the pre-algebra assessment, so she'll be doing that next year. So that's another mom that said, you know what, they were doing math 6, she did really, really good, she breezes through math, I'm gonna put my child in math 8. So you can see that it can go both ways, but there's just so many tools for you to decide where to put your child. So what are my final thoughts on the Good and the Beautiful, like my first impressions? It's laid out a little bit different, which I think it's a nice little change. It's more of like, you could really tell that it's already more for, you know, your child that's a little bit older. So that's kind of nice, but there's still pops of color in there, which is nice. There's sometimes even little games I noticed still with math 7 and 8, like activities that are fun for the child. And I love that they included that. I'm really enjoying their like unit assessment. They also have like a little reference chart in the back of all of like the units, which I thought was really nice. So your child can like take this out, you know, you can laminate this for them, or they just can keep it in here for them to go over. But it's kind of nice that they have this little reference chart here the child can look at just to review any, you know, concepts that they're working on, just to make it a little bit easier. I'm always happy when I see one of these reference charts. Okay guys, that is the video for today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that it could help you in some shape, way, or form. If you're deciding to take a look at the Good and the Beautiful, I will have a link down to all their math. There's going to be math 8 there. There's going to be the math tracks that I was talking about. I'm going to have all the links down below, but if you have any questions and I forgot to link something down below, let me know. The link that I have there is an affiliate link, so the Good and the Beautiful will know that I sent you if you purchase from my link. So I would so appreciate if you're thinking about placing an order for you to use my link, because it helps out my channel and it allows me to continue making videos like this, that we can look into new curriculum and I can continue making videos in general. So it helps out my small channel, but if not, that's totally fine as well. I just hope this video was helpful for you and your family. Again, I want to thank the Good and the Beautiful for partnering up with me. It's always a pleasure to partner up with them because it's one of my favorite curriculums of all time, and I have been using the Good and the Beautiful for 5 years now. I'm going to go into my 6th year. My son has been using the Good and the Beautiful since he was in level 1. He's going to be going into level 6. I'll have a video playlist of all my math curriculum, like do a lesson with me videos from the Good and the Beautiful up over here. And if you have any other questions regarding the Good and the Beautiful, please leave them down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.